Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, so we got Easter coming up this weekend, and I thought it'd be a great idea just to talk about what are some swaps or ideas for just the common recipes that we have during the holidays. So the usual two meats are either ham or lamb, ham or lamb. So some ways that you can still have your ham tasty, but not use all the sugary honey, the what is it, the honey baked ham? I've never actually looked up the calories on that, but I always loved that ham. So swapping the glaze and making your own using mustard and some honey and apple cider vinegar, and then try seasoning it with garlic, rosemary, thyme, a little bit of cayenne pepper for some kick, and roast it and grill it. So just trying to season it differently so you're still getting the yummy salty taste. That's why we like ham, right? And having a healthier version of that. And as far as lamb is concerned, lamb is definitely a very fatty protein source. But if you get a cut that is either the loin of the lamb or the leg of the lamb and trim a lot of the fat before you cook it, that will actually cut down on the greasiness, the fattiness of the dish itself. And instead of using heavy sauces, just coat the lamb in a fresh mixture of herbs, preferably fresh herbs, because it'll taste amazing. Go to your local grocery store and just get the kind that you can clip. Um, Garlic, and any kind of herbs that you like. And then even putting some lemon zest on top of it. And then again, either air frying it, grilling it, or roasting it. That'll allow the fat to drain off so that you're not actually having all of that fat reabsorb itself into the meat. Deviled eggs. What I had actually started doing was using avocado. Tastes great. Mix it up with the yolk. You can throw a little bit of Greek yogurt in there, but it's super creamy. You can add whatever spices you would normally use in your deviled eggs. Still use those, but you're swapping out the mayonnaise. You can also there's if you Google Whole30, I forget the name of the company, but there is a mayonnaise that is pretty clean, and you could use that, but you're going to get more protein and probably less calories just using the Greek yogurt and or avocado to make the filling. And then again, use whatever spices that you typically use just to give it a little more oomph. I always say can't go wrong with some pink Himalayan salt as well. And then you can also, to get more vegetables, use tiny, really tiny, finely chopped vegetables like spinach or pepper just to add some extra nutrients and even some color. You can see in this picture, there's little green chives on top too, just for really decoration and paprika. If you've never tried smoked paprika, that tastes pretty yummy, but try seasoning um, actually all of your food with different types of seasonings. All right, everybody likes to have mashed taters or those scalloped potatoes. I don't think I put those in this one, but how do you make mashed potatoes a little less caloric? Instead of using a ton of butter, you can use olive oil or avocado oil. You're still going to get a creamy consistency to it, but it won't be as unhealthy for you as using regular butter. You could also make a mashed cauliflower. Believe it or not, mashed cauliflower tastes pretty darn good, especially if you doctor it up with some seasonings. Put some garlic in there, a little Parmesan, olive oil, and any other seasonings that you like. I like to use Trader Joe's. They have a 21 seasoning salute. That's a great seasoning. I use it on a lot of things. Obviously, there are 21 different seasonings in there, hence the name. but that is something good that you can use on pretty much anything and everything. Again, use Greek yogurt instead of sour cream or heavy cream just to get that creamy flavor and effect without having all of those calories, because those things are both pretty high in fat. And you're also going to increase your protein if you're using the non-fat Greek yogurt. And then again, you can choose to just skip the mashed potatoes altogether and just get potatoes. Again, season them up. I love using the air fryer for any kind of vegetables, but potatoes, just kind of cube them, maybe a quarter of an inch and around, and then a little bit of olive oil. I have found a really yummy lemon olive oil that tastes great on vegetables. Or if you guys have Wegmans near you, they have one that's a basting oil that has seasonings already in it. So you could try that. But then you can just pop that in your air fryer or your oven. And instead of making mashed potatoes with all the excess fat from the olive oil, the avocado oil, or the butter, the ghee, whatever it might be, you'll have much less fat in your potatoes because you're just using olive oil or avocado oil or whatever you like to use. So there's a healthy alternative for that. Um, Roasted veggies, they're amazing. For whatever reason, I love taking a lot of root vegetables and tossing them in my air fryer. Parsnips, beets, and again, throwing some either sweet potatoes in there. Really good combination of flavors. And again, you can put some onion and some broccoli in there too. All you need when you're roasting veggies is just a little bit of olive oil, coconut oil, or again, avocado oil, and toss some fresh herbs on there. Or I like Penzi spices because they have a variety of different seasonings, but toss them over top as well. And again, pop it in your air fryer because you won't even need as much oil, and they're really going to get more crispy inside the air fryer than they would. Plus, they'll cook faster. So add different spices, but some to try would be cumin, turmeric for the anti-inflammatory benefits, garlic powder, really, again, anything that you like. You might even want a little spice in there. So adding just a pinch of cayenne pepper might be something that you really enjoy. But just experimenting and trying different things can really jazz up your veggies, and you'll be more inclined to want to eat them if they taste good. Hot cross buns. I've never had these, but it's an Easter thing. Um, I don't know if you guys have ever had them, but what can you do? Just swap out regular white flour for whole wheat flour. I'm not sure how almond flour or coconut flour works when you're doing bread type of things. I've used both of those when I've made pancakes or even like a blueberry crisp, just a little bit of coconut flour to make a crumble on top. But I'm not sure how that would work in like a bread type product. So just swap it out for whole wheat flour. And instead of using regular sugar, you can try things like honey, maple syrup, coconut sugar. The one thing you want to do is make sure that you Google, okay, if you need a quarter cup of sugar, how much coconut sugar would that be as a substitute? Because they're not often, and it's the same thing with the almond flour, the coconut flour, the whole wheat flour. It's not always a 1-to-1. You're just swapping it out. You want to make sure that you check what the equitable amount would be for each of those things. Um, and again, instead of using butter, you can use coconut oil or avocado. And you can think about, instead of using candied fruit, try some dried fruit. Also, dried fruit, look for fruit that does not have added sugar. You just want dehydrated fruits. that is sometimes tricky when you're looking for those kinds of things. So just make sure it doesn't have any added sugar because the dried fruit is going to have enough sugar. So you might want to add things like raisins, cranberries, or apricots just to add that touch of natural sweetness. Green beans. So oftentimes you'll see the green beans with almonds. Sometimes, oftentimes, you'll see the casserole, right? The almondine version is definitely going to be a little bit of a healthier option. But again, if you are, I know I have a recipe somewhere for the green bean casserole. If anybody's interested in that, just let me know and I'll try to dig it up for you. But for the green bean almondine, again, instead of using butter, try to use olive oil or ghee. Ghee is basically all of the white stuff is taken out of the butter, and it's just like the yellow part. But you can use that instead of regular butter. You can buy it at the store. In the shortening section, they usually have that, so you can check that out. It's on the shelves, not where you would typically find butter. And then again, add garlic and shallots for that extra flavor. Get real garlic and real shallots to really bring out the flavor of the beans and without having those added calories. And again, lemon zest, right? Or you can just squeeze some fresh lemon juice over top to, again, enhance the flavor of the green beans. Sweet potato casserole, this one is pretty common at this time of year. And again, instead of using the heavy cream and butter, you can swap in some coconut milk. I would Google the amounts. Just don't assume that it's again going to be a one-to-one. And then you can add natural sweeteners like maple syrup, pure maple syrup, or stevia instead of the white sugar to sweeten the dish naturally. I think once we get over the hump of eating a ton of sugar, when we do eat something like that, like this, it's like, wow, that's really sugary. And then you can top it with nuts instead of all the marshmallows. You can use toasted pecans, walnuts. There is another, honestly, for Thanksgiving one year, I made just sweet potatoes in my Instant Pot with, I didn't even use butter. I just, for whatever reason, they were super flavorful. I used cinnamon and I might have put a little bit of rosemary in there, but they were so good. And that was it. There was no fat, obviously, no extra added calories from nuts and marshmallows, but they tasted really good and had a ton of flavor. I don't know if it was because they were cooked at such a high heat, but that's something to try too. And the great thing about using an Instant Pot to cook your sweet potatoes is the exterior, all the skin, peels right off pretty easily because sometimes sweet potatoes are tough to peel. All right, and how do we make lower calorie salads? It really, majority of the calories when it comes to salads are typically coming from using creamy dressings. So instead of using your ranch or your French dressing, your Thousand Island, just make a little vinaigrette. Honestly, I'm too lazy to even do that, so I buy flavored vinegars. Usually, I actually have one right now from Saratoga, New York. That is a coconut vinegar. It's really yummy. But anywhere, even Home Goods, they tend to sell flavored vinegars. But you can go into those specialty oil and vinegar stores and get some really nice flavors. And when you go in there, usually I will ask, okay, what's your favorite flavor combination? And then I'll get those two, and that's what I'll use on my salad. But if you don't want to do that, you can just make your own a little olive oil, apple cider vinegar, mustard, or again, squeeze of lemon, or you could even just pour some fresh lemon, just squeeze it right over top of your salad for that flavoring. But it's a great way to get a good fat if you're using olive oil and a good quality olive oil. Cold pressed is really yummy to put over a salad. This is definitely one of my favorite salads. Any kind of green, spinach is always yummy, but I also like arugula with strawberries, goat cheese, and beets. And then if you want, you can toss a little grilled chicken or any kind of protein on top to get the extra protein in and just so healthy. Look at how colorful that is, right? Love salads. And then how about dessert? Carrot cake is a popular one for Easter. So substituting again whole wheat flour or almond flour for a better option as far as the flour is concerned. And again, swapping out sugar. A lot of baking recipes. You can use applesauce, dates, or bananas to get that natural sweetness. I actually found date syrup, and when I do make my little crock of banana blueberry crisp, I'll actually use date syrup to sweeten it just a little bit. A little bit goes a long way. And as far as healthy fats, again, using coconut oil or avocado oil, Greek yogurt to add moisture and some healthy fats into the cake instead of traditional vegetable oil. I don't even buy canola oil or vegetable oil anymore. And you can also add more vegetables. So boost the fiber content. You can add zucchini, pumpkin puree, along with those carrots to really beef up your vegetable intake. And those kinds of things don't really add a whole lot of flavor. Well, the pumpkin probably does, but zucchini pretty much doesn't taste like anything. Um, so just a great way to increase your vegetable intake while having something yummy. And then same thing with the cheese, cream cheese topping. Just look for some low calorie options to make that, and don't even have to put a ton of icing all over the cake. Just do a little bit. So, any questions from here? Hopefully, this is helpful, and we'll give you some ideas. When it comes to recipes, I mean, you can use Chat GPT, you can just Google it, but I always like to look for either Whole30 or autoimmune protocol and just put that in. So if you're searching for a healthy carrot cake recipe, Google carrot cake autoimmune protocol or AIP or Whole30 and see what comes up, or just do healthy carrot cake. And you should see a bunch of options pop up. But any questions whatsoever? Helpful? Any particular things that you love for Easter? Anybody? Bueller? Have you tried any of these recipe swaps that I'm mentioning here? They can all be pretty yummy. I used to make banana bread all the time, and I would use applesauce instead of oil. Not seeing any questions on Facebook either. So I am going to call it a webinar.